Shelly Nance's story is one of heartbreak, obsession, and ultimately, tragedy. A young woman with a bright future, full of dreams and passion for art, was brutally murdered in a crime that shocked Dallas, Texas. Her death would reveal a terrifying obsession by someone close to her, someone who was not a stranger, but a person she knew and trusted. Join us as we unravel the haunting story of Shelly Nance's murder, a crime that would send shockwaves through the community and raise crucial questions about obsession and the deadly consequences it can bring. Shelly Nance, a 20-year-old art student at the Art Institute of Dallas, was a woman full of promise. Known for her creativity and determination, Shelly was pursuing a dream she had nurtured since childhood. A scholarship student, Shelly worked tirelessly on her paintings, hoping one day to become a professional artist. Those who knew Shelly describe her as vibrant, compassionate, and always eager to learn. She was more than just a student. She was someone who made an impact on everyone she met. But despite her successes and dreams, Shelly's life would intersect with something darker. Shelly was in a relationship with Nathan Shuck, a fellow art student at the same school. On the surface, it seemed like an ordinary college romance, but beneath that, there was a more complicated and dangerous dynamic. Willyam, Nathan's roommate, who was about to play a central role in Shelly's untimely death. Willyam was an enigmatic figure in Shelly's life. Initially, a quiet presence in the background, he soon became a more prominent and troubling force. He was consumed by a one-sided obsession with Nathan, which would ultimately lead him to a violent end. On October 30th, 2009, Shelly Nance's life came to a horrific end. What should have been an ordinary evening, spent in the comfort of her own home, turned into a night of terror and violence. Shelly had spent the day working on a painting for her art class, excited about her progress. She never expected that night to be her last. While Shelly worked, Willyam was waiting. At some point that evening, he entered her apartment. The details of what happened next are chilling. A confrontation took place between Shelly and Daniel, a confrontation that would end in her brutal murder. The crime scene was horrific. Shelly had been stabbed 42 times. The sheer brutality of the attack suggested that this was not a random act of violence. No signs of forced entry meant that the killer was someone Shelly knew, someone she trusted. And Daniel, who had been living in the apartment with Nathan, was a prime suspect. After the police arrived, they began to piece together the evidence. At first, Nathan Shuck was the prime suspect. He was Shelly's boyfriend, after all, and in many cases the partner is the first person authorities look at. But Nathan's alibi was solid. He was not in the apartment at the time of the murder. The investigation soon turned toward Willyam. It wasn't just his proximity to the crime scene that raised suspicions. It was the fact that Daniel had been acting erratically in the days leading up to the murder. His obsession with Nathan had grown to dangerous levels. Daniel resented Shelly for standing in the way of his connection with Nathan, and that resentment turned into a deadly rage. As detectives dug deeper, they uncovered a disturbing pattern. Daniel had been sending Nathan a series of text messages expressing his jealousy and frustration about Shelly. Daniel's possessiveness had reached dangerous levels, and it was clear that his infatuation with Nathan had warped his sense of reality. The physical evidence confirmed what investigators feared. Daniel's fingerprints were found on the murder weapon, and blood from Shelly was discovered on his clothes. When confronted with this evidence, Daniel's story crumbled. He had no alibi for the night of the murder, and all signs pointed to him as the killer. The trial of Willyam began in 2011. The prosecution wasted no time in presenting their case, describing Daniel's obsessive behavior and the violent nature of the crime. They painted a chilling picture of a man consumed by jealousy, willing to murder the woman who stood in the way of his obsession. The defense, however, argued that Daniel was suffering from mental health issues. They claimed he was not fully responsible for his actions, suggesting that his obsession with Nathan had triggered a psychotic break. but the prosecution rejected this claim, pointing to the premeditated nature of the attack. Throughout the trial, Shelly's family members testified about the kind of person she was, the kind of daughter, friend, and girlfriend who deserved a full life, not one stolen by a deranged obsession. Their emotional testimonies only strengthened the case against Daniel. In the end, Daniel Willyam was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for 30 years. While Shelly's family and friends could never bring her back, they could at least find some semblance of justice. Shelly Nance's murder left a permanent scar on her family and the community. Those who knew her could not understand how someone they trusted could take her life so violently. In the wake of her death, Shelly's family worked tirelessly to honor her memory, creating scholarships and programs in her name to help young artists just like her. But beyond the personal grief, Shelly's case brought attention to a larger issue: obsession-driven violence. Experts agree that unhealthy attachments, when left unchecked, can escalate into deadly situations. Shelly's death serves as a painful reminder that we must remain vigilant about the dynamics in our relationships and the toxic behaviors that can hide beneath the surface. Shelly Nance's tragic death is a stark reminder of the destructive power of obsession. A person's obsession, whether it's romantic, possessive, or driven by jealousy, can lead to devastating consequences. But more than that, Shelly's story underscores the importance of recognizing the signs of toxic relationships before it's too late. Experts warn that obsession often stems from an imbalance in one's psychological state, driven by insecurity, possessiveness, or even narcissism. If left unchecked, it can turn into something much darker. Shelly's case shows that when we ignore these warning signs, whether in a friendship, family dynamic, or romantic relationship, the consequences can be deadly. Despite her tragic end, Shelly's legacy continues to inspire those who knew her. Her artwork, her dreams, and the way she lived her life remind us of the beauty that can be found in the world, even in the darkest of times. We can honor Shelly's memory by paying attention to the relationships around us and learning to recognize toxic, obsessive behaviors before they spiral out of control. If you or someone you know is struggling with an unhealthy relationship, remember that help is available. No one should have to endure such fear or harm.